Dragon's Tome. My name's Rob. With me is
Uh,
Drunky McDrinks-a-lot
I'm
and Pat.
parched.
it's Drunko and Sober. Oh,
And we're here for Dragon Magazine. We're going through every Dragon magazine chronologically from 1 to 410, I believe. And, sorry,
What?
Jack. No, you didn't hear that, Jack. Sorry.
yeah, it's still 100. Don't worry about it. It's
uh,
Jeez.
400. It's 410, which means 100 in your math.
yeah.
I I I told you I'm only good for. I think I read that contract pretty
Don't
well.
worry. Don't worry. I got a
Yeah.
replacement already leveled up for you. So,
Okay.
this is issue 97 of the Dragon's Tome and Dragon Magazine. May 1985. The cover is by Robin Wood. And it's called Music Lover. And it's a dragon being serenaded by a girl with a harp. Serenade
It
is one word.
says
What?
it says Silver Dragon in the description.
Oh, silver
It
makes more
looks.
sense, yeah.
It
Otherwise,
makes it look more black than the silver.
I thought it was Black Dragon, and I thought she was about to be Meal. Because look at his claw, it's like holding her down.
Yeah.
It looks more menacing than friendly, I think. But
Well, the other claw is bunched up in the fist like it's gonna pummel her.
just punch her.
I disagree. I think it's a very touching, very nice.
Look at Jack, always looking on the bright side.
I do, much like Monty Python.
He's always looking on the bright side of life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like all the little scales are all rendered. Like there's a lot of work in this thing.
It's funny you said that because as I read the cover thing, it is a painting, and it was turned in late, and her slash excuse was, but there were so many scales.
Yeah, that's right. You can't make an excuse. Look at that. Look at all those scales, and each one has a little light source. And
Oh yeah, that's but it's I just wish it would look more silver. I mean, I only know silver, but the only reason why I know it's a silver dragon is because it was. If there's a gripe to be had
I could see it
in
could be
this,
silver in the dark, so there's nothing to
yeah,
reflect.
Yeah, it's reflecting what little light sources there are. I can
Like in
see
his
that.
neck, it looks very silvery, but yeah, the rest looks black. I agree.
so
Although it does have the silver dragon like horn there with the
yeah,
unicorn kind of horn. So, but it still looks menacing because that claw is dangerously close to her. That's all I'm saying.
well, and he's got that angry closed fist. Someone who's enjoying music doesn't ball their fists up unless you're at like some kind of anti-concert.
That's how I enjoy
The
music all the time.
the anti-concert. I think. Yeah, wasn't that a Marvel creation? The anti-concert.
No, it's DC.
Oh,
Okay, let's move on to ads or articles. I mean, I did the same thing. Who did the ad thing? That was Pat.
I did. That was me.
See?
and I
My
did
head.
it the week before, so I thought he was taking the piss.
No, it's just easy to say. Articles. Let's go with Jack. What's your first article?
Oh, okay. We're going to start with page 8, so we don't have to go down too far. And it's in the forums,
In the
and
forum.
it's the first letter.
Yeah, is it the one that's lambasting Gygax?
I
It's one of mine too.
it's okay. I was going to say I'm probably going to be joined by my faithful companions on this because the letter itself is very tasteful, and
Yeah.
it does literally deconstruct Gygax. For those of you, if this is your first episode, welcome. I don't know why you started on this one. Maybe your friend said check this out. You did.
Go
Welcome
back at
again.
least, was it last episode or the one before? I think it was the one before.
Yes, 2 episodes ago, there was a little blurb by Gary Gygax about how Tolkien was a hack and his trash writings and such, and a little hyperbole there, but not too much. What we have here is J.R. Smith, no relation, I hope, to Mr. Tolkien.
J.R.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith basically just refuted, like,
He's his heir, JRS.
and he's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in case that's a deciding factor on if you believe the fact that he says, Gandalf was hugely powerful.
Yeah.
Because you don't see him casting a cantrip doesn't mean he's not. And honestly, he was basically an angel in the lore. So, like,
Yeah, immortal and yeah.
Yeah, and he was like Tom Bombadil. And Gygax is the only person I've ever seen in the history of enjoying in the fandom who ever said more Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, that was like the
I
one of the
So
actually,
books.
I actually like Tom Bombadil, and I wish there was more Tom Bombadil
everyone does, but he
because
they
he truly
listen.
is one of the most powerful
Yeah, that's the
characters in that.
point.
So he comes, he's one of the most powerful characters, and then you move on, and it's like, oh, that's,
But he's also not powerful because he's only powerful where he is.
and his mentality is such that he wasn't
Yeah.
capable of really being a force for good or evil. Um, but anyways, so the letter itself, well written, and it does,
Goes point by point pretty much and
yeah.
explains why Gygax was wrong.
But the editor, who doesn't even put who
Yeah.
the editor is
Doesn't say.
because they're so ashamed
Yeah,
of
I'm
what they have to
curious.
do.
Kim
This
is the editor still, right? Let me go back up
this
here.
this
Oh, well,
kowtowing.
Kim's editor in chief. Then there's editorial staff, so maybe it was somebody else that wrote.
They didn't put their
Yeah,
initials there.
yeah.
Basically said if Mr. Gygax says he didn't, his elves weren't his token elves, his halflings or hobbits when he first made it, his hobbits weren't Tolkien's hobbits. This was all Mr. Gygax, and you can't refute when he says
Pretty much, yeah.
Tolkien was of no influence at all. Okay, yeah. But my favorite part is how he says at the start of it, this is one of the few we were inundated with letters, and this is one of the few ones we could print.
Yeah,
Well,
I like that.
but let's be honest. I mean, the people who love Lord of the Rings way outnumber the people who don't.
Oh
So
yeah.
of course you,
Well, and also read this magazine. I'm sure there's way more Lord of the Rings
yeah.
fans than there aren't. But
But I do know, like maybe two people who don't like Lord of the Rings, and they share the same feelings that Gary Gygax says about the book. So
and they're wrong, but that's okay.
But
It's okay to be
yeah,
wrong.
but you don't piss on their leg, tell them it's raining.
And they also didn't make a game based on Lord of the Rings and claim it
well,
wasn't.
I wouldn't say based everything on Lord of the Rings, but
No, but he
No,
definitely
that's
took
going to
some. He
stretch.
took some.
Well, who didn't though? But that's the
But that's the
point. Is who
point.
didn't?
that's the point.
But he's saying he
But
didn't.
most
Most
people
people
would go,
wouldn't
"Oh
deny
yes, I
it.
was inspired
That's
by
right.
yes."
That's the problem. It's
Um,
not that he did it; it's that he's denied doing it. That's the problem.
and us knowing that it was because of a lawsuit that he, not because of some moral high ground or some
This is why I
ethical
took
thing,
it out. Yeah,
or
no,
even
you had
some
to. Yeah.
some uh, I don't know, distaste for the source material. It was a lawsuit that said, "What are you doing? You can't do that." But anyways, then to end this mysterious editor after saying, Mr. Gygax put his foot down, so that's the end of this conversation. It said, any disagreements on this or any other topic, if you're going to write in, it's got to be you've got to have some semblance of decorum or some
For some
uh,
reason, well, yeah, because I'm sure some people just
Oh, I'm sure. I
went
would love to see
went
those letters
rage.
because I'm sure a lot of them were explicit.
But I bet you those ladies also didn't make any kind of argument other than you're
No,
an
just
idiot.
you're a fucking idiot. Yeah.
and honestly, even if they did
At
have
least
a
this guy
nice
put down a
peppering of
pointed
both,
argument.
Yeah.
yeah, even if all those letters,
This
those weight
represents all the
letters,
other letters, but this one does it intellectually instead of just
yes, with the
angrily.
best, so I think that's why. So I enjoyed knowing that there was one
I will
comeuppance.
be the devil's advocate here. And the sentence he says, "The wealth of Lord makes Middle Earth excel as a campaign world." I never thought Middle Earth made a good campaign world. I'll be honest with you.
Well, guess
I would
what?
agree with that.
Guess what? GW says otherwise. They've been creating content for it for years.
Well, that's why I don't play the GW role playing game.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's got a lot of world building in Lord of the Rings.
but I think that if you um, having there's so much set in stone, there's so much already done, and it's already. I would agree that I wouldn't
But that's like
feel that.
saying Dragonlance isn't very good because it's all set in stone. But it's not. You can just change it. It's your world, right? That's just the setting.
Yeah,
You play through the setting, not to play the setting.
well, Pat and I are wrong then.
Well, I'm just saying. obviously a lot of people think
But
you're
if
wrong.
you're going to change the setting, why play the setting, though?
It's
You know what
not.
I'm
You're
saying?
not changing the setting. You're playing in the setting, not the setting. You're not playing the story. You're playing the setting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's my point. I don't think Middle Earth makes a good setting.
of course it does. This it's pretty deep. He has a huge. Read the Similarian. He has a freaking.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I know two people that read the whole Sumerian.
I'm one of them.
I've read it. It's not
Year
good.
three. No, I only made it through a quarter of the book, and I had to throw it in the fire
Jeez, that's
Once,
aggressive.
yeah, okay, that's a little excessive.
because
Once,
if there's a book that is tedious, it's the
Well,
Sumerian.
yeah, that's right. That's what if when people say tedious, that's that book, not Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is a rollicking adventure. It's true. People read Song of Ice and Fire. You think Lord of the Rings is tedious? At least it doesn't describe a meal for 20 pages. Like, come
Yeah.
on. So, anyways,
purposely,
Because he's got writer's block, so he can only think about his dinner.
but I do like how this letter, the editor finally just does. Okay, this is it. We're not going to put any more of these Gygax. Anybody yells about Gygax, we're not printing them, so don't bother writing them. So.
signs of
It's more.
mysterious.
It's more like at least make it look like this,
Well,
concise, and make it intellectually.
yeah, but they do not cotton to anybody speaking against Gygax. Gygax is
No.
God for now, for another year. We'll see after that.
But yeah. At least they had the internal fortitude to post one letter.
Yeah,
they
that's right.
probably could have just
They
swept
could
it
have,
under the
yeah, they
rug
could have
as
ignored it
another.
all. That's true.
Yeah.
I give them that much credit. Pat, what is your first article?
Let's go to page 10.
Ooh, keeping it tight.
It's too
Yeah.
too far away.
Tight.
These and the Faithful. This was a Gary Gygax article. Basically, how to quantify your deities. There's parts of this article I like and parts that I don't like. If you're going to create deities in your own world, I do like the idea. And if you're going to use D&D as your base set of rules in your own world, I guess, I like the idea that the number of followers could be changed, but is an example. Every 1,000 followers, the deity gets hit points. So it stands to reason that the more followers you are, the stronger you are. But I'm not so down with this alignment equaling the PowerPoint, which is what they use to cast your spells, create miracles, blah, 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 and force commands. And the way he wrote it and made it sounds like it's a shared power pool by all the gods at that same alignment that they just divvy up amongst themselves, which I didn't like. That was just...
Yeah, I wouldn't think that any of the different systems are cooperating.
I don't see any gods sharing power with other gods, period.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I liked about this article is the reward and penalty guideline for role-playing good interactions with your faith that I liked. There was some good examples of, giving fighters or something an extra hit point per die when they roll hit points. And things like so. I mean, not a horrible article, but just if you're looking to create your own, what's the word, pantheon, this is a nice base to start with.
It had just the right amount of like hooks in it to make you think, but
it's a nice skeleton for something.
Yeah, it wasn't a
well.
No, but that PowerPoint thing was too much for me. I couldn't get down with that.
I do like the fact that Gary, he doesn't go crazy on his articles in Dragon. I think he saves his words for the actual publications, unlike people like Catherine Kerr or Greenwood, who just go crazy and write like pages and pages. He's just like, in and out. Here's my ideas. You think of it. You think on it. I'm thinking on it. We'll get back to it.
Yeah,
which is good. I like that. It's more amazingly for Gary Gygax. It's more letting you think, create your own world out of it instead of him telling you what it is, which is unusual.
And surprisingly enough, the Sorcerer's Scroll this is the only article in the Sorcerer's Scroll.
Yeah, there's no extra spots. Yeah. Usually he has some rant about something or other. We don't even get that.
So, but that's it. GDs and their faithful. It's a good basis to, if you're going to make your own pantheon, how to figure out how powerful or how many points, if you want to stat your own gods out.
Well, there you go. Stat your gods. Let's go back to page 5. And this one's pretty funny because it's the second letter to the editor after. Well, actually, it's not. Where was yours? Yours is forum. This is the letter. That's right. This one is if you've got it, and it's this person. I usually do not read Dragon magazine. I find dragons with. There's too many dragons to cope with in the real world to read this, and I was like, what the hell? But then you go on. It turns out this is written by one of the author's mothers, and she's pretty much saying that it was what article was it? I don't even remember. It was how taxes take their toll. You actually chose this one.
Yeah, I did that article.
Yes,
Arthur Collins, and it's his mother pretty much.
His mom called him out.
Yeah, he used the word flaunt instead of flout, and she called him out on it. And she wrote a letter, and they published it, which is my favorite part.
Oh,
I know the difference between flaunt and float, and I don't think there's that much of a difference that I would write an email. Never mind.
Well, Margaret
maybe she's an English
Collins believes that there is a big enough difference.
Is she an English teacher? Does she say that she might be an English teacher?
I don't think she says that, but she definitely goes off on her son for a few paragraphs about.
She actually wrote. Is this a word? Methought. To correct this glaring error.
I think she was trying to talk like his characters in that article. Remember, it was that in the world.
It was Dragon Magazine interviewing a tax collector from.
Yeah. So I think she was trying to talk like that, but
Arthur Collins is 31 apparently because she's been playing the role of his mother for 31 years.
Yeah. So this poor guy who's 31 just got called out by his mother. And
that's some hands-on parenting.
Yeah, but Kim's best part is like he wrote this like 4 years ago. We finally just published it. So Kim's like, he's aged a lot in that time, but it's pretty funny.
So imagine him coming up. Well, hey, Mama, you know what? I got published in this magazine.
Oh, I'm gonna read it, son.
And she starts reading through, and then
gets the red marker out.
Oh, yeah.
Over the pot roast dinner, Arthur. I just want to let you know that you use these words all wrong.
No. She throws the magazine down. There's all the red lines and all the teacher shorthand in red, the SPs and the.
My favorite part would be that if he just doesn't talk to her, he refuses to talk to her. So this is the only way that she can talk to her son is by letters to the editor.
That's the day he picked up his skateboard and skated out of the house. Slingshot in his back pocket and said, "Never again."
I'm never coming back to this place.
I will like to point out that.
Are you going to allow that, Rob? You're not going to put a stop to this, whatever this is.
Just going to point it out that there's a letter from Kim Mohan here explaining about that chart from the experience.
Yeah, this is the one that we were talking before where it was all wrong. Yeah, this is Don't Blame Gary.
He actually wrote a letter to the letters.
Yeah, to explain that they screwed up that whole thing we were talking about
he said blame falls on him because he's the editor-in-chief, but he does say he did throw someone underneath the buck, and I couldn't remember who it was. He didn't put a name, but he called him some intern. Did he call him an intern?
But Gary must have been like, you screwed this
up.
Oh,
he called him the imperfect editor. That's what he called him.
Gary must have said, you fix this. You're gonna write to I didn't screw this up. You screwed this up.
He cites two parts where he says a character with 2 or 3 classes multiple times, and then he said that's not what it was supposed to be. It was not, and the I don't know what you would call it. The admission of guilt really didn't even say what was really wrong, because I don't even understand, because the rules have changed over the last 40 years. I couldn't possibly pick out what it is, but it was just a very odd how these words got in there, or why they were, or what the situation was. But it was all Kim's fault, and the mysterious masked editor, and
imperfect.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, I'm sure he got an earful from Gary, and then he's just like, okay, I'll own up to it. I guess it's back to me, right? No, that was mine, right?
That was you.
To Jack.
Me, okay, good, because I thought for sure Rob being hateful and
No, I
and
let you
murderous.
have this one.
I was tight. I
I'm not
was
like you. You're the hateful, murderous one.
watertight.
I let you
He
have
would
them.
take
You
this
would
in a
take it from
second.
me, but I would not take it from you. Haven't you seen a pattern here, Jack? Who was the hateful one?
Yes, how you're lying right now to our fans' face. They've seen the shows.
Yeah, that's
What
right. They've
page
seen
are we
the show.
going to?
They
79.
79. We're going to 79. We have
Oh, I
ourselves,
stayed away from this the minute I saw that Maple Leaf.
It was one of mine
or
also. If Jack hadn't mentioned it, I would have taken it, but he did mention it.
we could, if you would indulge me, go up to 71 of the PDF just for a good shot of we've got Talisman, we've got
The cover?
her dad there in the back, we've got
Shaman.
Snowbird, we got Puck, we've got before she was
Guardian.
Vindicator.
That's right.
So that's
Heather,
I
Heather
forget
Thompson.
Heather.
Heather Hudson.
Yeah. So then we will go back down to 79, and this is Alpha Flight. I have a huge collection of Alpha Flight magazine, and when Byrne was in charge, it was some of the best comic books out there. Subsequently, other people took over and really just bent
Didn't
the characters
understand it, right.
over a wooden chair and just rogered them dry with a sturgeon. But we have Guardian, who rest in peace. We'll
Spoilers.
pour one out for Guardian.
He's back
And
anyways.
Box. That is the
OG.
that is, I believe that's Box 2.
No, this is Box 1, I think, isn't it?
I think Box 1 was blue.
Wow, okay. But it's the not the new box, anyways. It's not Madison Jeffries box. This is Roger Box box.
I believe that is Madison Jeffries box.
No, this is Roger
because
box. It says right here.
Because the Living Metal one,
that's this one.
Is that one there?
Yeah,
that's Living Metal one got turned over to oh,
there are two stats apparently.
Yeah, Walter Langozowski, his name was. So Box.
When what's his name got kicked out of his body. Yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah.
So Roger Box is
he's the inventor of Box.
He's the blue one. Why is he in red?
No, it's
because there's two of them.
I think this is before that happened. So I think this is right when it's happening. I don't think it's happened yet. Where Sasquatch gets put into Box's body. Because like you say, she's not Vindicator yet. She was Vindicator at that point. So I think right on the edge.
Guardians,
why is the other box?
No, he's dead.
Trademarked. Why is the other box trademarked?
Everything's trademarked. It's Marvel owns all this.
Yeah, Talisman, the
Box. This is right when Talisman joined. Like that's why he even writes at the beginning of this. This is all happening in the comic books as we speak. So it's that cat's paw that Jack owns is out of date already at this point.
Yeah. Well,
my young friend. I don't know. Let's see if I can get this to.
It's very blurry,
my young friend, young Patrick, picked this up for me while at Gen Con because he knew.
You love the Alpha Flight.
Oh, there's Sasquatch. Come on, Well,
it's because you blurred your background, so it thinks you're your background. Oh.
Anyways, yes, we discussed this on a previous installment, and there we go. Snowbird, Sasquatch, or over there. Yes.
I almost thought those were real people.
I didn't read this article, but apparently Jeff Byrne did all the interior, and
John Byrne.
John Byrne and Jeff Butler did all the penciling, or inked all the interiors.
Yeah, that's what he said. It was a misprint on the Jack's copy. Actually, is that it gave all the credit to the interiors to Jeff Butler, but he only inked them. John Byrne did all the art in that. So.
And you can tell he is a fabulous. I can't say enough. I'm a big fan, and
he did X-Men first, and then he went over to he wrote and drew all of the original Alpha Flight run, which was up to like 60 something, I think. So that's pretty impressive. Like he was drawing and writing at least one comic book, where nowadays artists can't even draw one comic book a month. He was writing like multiples. So
And you can't. I can't even. The art of new comic books is.
wow, you can't say that because it's all different. But some art's terrible. But uh,
I, I've I've yet to see art that rivals, say, Justice League International or any of the, or
those
even
are
like,
classics.
just it's all just potato faced
Yeah.
squiggles. Oh
Jack,
God. But
Jack is
anyways,
he's got some kind of disease in his brain where he can't see good. But uh,
I keep looking, not seeing it.
see, it's in his head. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say, oh, John Byrne notoriously did like issue 7 or something was snowblind, and it was almost every panel was white because he ran out of time, so it was just a snowstorm the whole time, which is quite funny. But
Little little trivia.
yes, trivia. Anyways, these are all the characters that weren't in Cat's Paw because they came out after. So we got Talisman, Box, and Guardian, deceased. Sadly, spoilers.
Yes,
Don't worry, he's back now.
as the
By the way, there's a new
kind
elf.
of the
There's a new Elf Flight comic book, Jack. You should check it out.
maybe I should.
I was reading it. I was like, oh, this is making me angry. In the end, it was all right. So it's only one issue out. So
Oh,
far.
that doesn't sound like I would enjoy it.
Wow. At first, it makes them out to be like racist Nazis, and you're like, oh, these are racist Nazis. Why are they making
I'm
Elf
listening.
Flight like this? Why are they making Elf Flight like this? And in the end, it turns out they're just They were just fooling. They're fooling.
They're just being jokesters.
Oh,
They were
satire being
no, it's not
protected
satire.
by the.
They started out as Trudeau fans, and then they stopped being Trudeau fans.
They're it's a whole thing about the fall of the mutants. Let's just say the mutants aren't doing well in the current comic books. So
Don't they have a whole island that they can just keep reinventing themselves?
Not so much.
Oh,
Bad things happen. Spoilers. Bad things happened.
okay. Well,
Anyways, Elf Flight.
maybe if I can scrounge up, find somewhere on.
I wouldn't even bother. It's so you'd have to read like 5 years worth of comic books to understand what the hell's going on. So
Just the new Alpha Flight.
yeah. To understand what's happening in New Elf Flight, you'd have to read like 5 years of X-Men comics.
I was in and then tapped out. I don't even know if I inhaled and exhaled in the time I did a full in to a full out.
But it's the classic team. I was pretty impressed. It's the original teams back together, and there's one guy I didn't recognize. He must be from a later team, but
it might have been Beta Flight or Omega Flight or any of the other flights that are not the premier.
Plus, the later Elf Flights had some weird
Whiskey Flight, Beer Flight.
I could do a beer flight right now.
I could do a nacho flight. That was pretty good.
I could do my article right now.
Jack's article. Are you done, Jack? Right, are you done?
Yes, sir. Thank you for indulging me, one and all.
Okay, Pat.
23. With this article, because this is an age-old argument since the days of beginning of RPG years. Basically, this thing starts as a gripe about high-level characters and how boring campaigns are. And these campaigns are generated by overzealous DMs that just want to hand out experience points to people. But then it gets to how do you control that? Because a lot of what happens is that people can't train, quote unquote. In the DM's guide, you have to stop to train before you can level up.
Which I hate.
And yeah, and I think, but again, that comes down to the age-old argument among RPGers. That you have to interrupt your adventuring to find someone, spend some money, and then all of a sudden you become, ba-da! Here's a belt, here's a brown belt. You're up, you're good to go.
Yeah, it's pretty much how it is. Yeah, you have to do your.
But his solution is pretty much kind of where everyone is going now. That I think is almost a house rule. Became a house rule in the 80s and 90s. Is where you train only when you gain something new, like a new weapon proficiency or a new spell level. Whereas when you level up and you don't get any extra bonuses, it's your actual fighting and your training is you becoming better.
Yeah. naturally, not by training.
Yeah, naturally. Uh, so
Almost like it's
it,
through experience.
yeah, in a roundabout sense, he
That
kind of
you've
makes
earned
it.
over many, many
Yeah.
encounters.
So it's a long article about how overpowered characters are, and how those campaigns are really dumb and boring, and it's overzealous DMs that create these things, and how do you stop that from happening? Because people get frustrated when they can't find someone to train or
Well,
don't have gold to train.
once again, I think this is a very 1E problem.
Oh,
They
it's
solved
definitely a
this.
1E problem. Yeah. But, this is all we got at this point in
Yeah, yeah.
time.
Done
So,
done properly, this could add to the experience. It could be a something that the characters look forward to and part of a story or
yeah.
But if
part
you're
of your
halfway
mythos.
through a dungeon and you're getting your ass kicked, you want to get that level because you need
But
Yeah.
yeah, but then done poorly, where it is not fun. I could see how people be like, I just gained my level. This is great. Okay, yeah, well, we just started. You're gonna be. It sucks to be you. You are who you are for the next,
Yeah.
4 adventures.
And I know in the DM's guide, once you match or go over the experience that you go to the next level, you can't get any more experience until you quote
Yeah,
unquote train.
that's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
remember that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
remember that. It sucks. You're stuck
Oh,
until
that
you're.
I would.
Yeah,
So this is one of the main reasons why uh, you get those overzealous DMs, because they want to keep their party happy in a sense. So
wow.
I remember. I don't know if it was on NADPod or if it was Critical Role. Well, one of the ones that I listened to quite a few real play, and their house rule was when you leveled up, when you were able to level up, you leveled up right then and there. You got
That's what it should
your
be.
full hit points. You got your whatever they could give you like immediately then, and then after that session, they would fill out the character. So it was like a half measure. Like you got rewarded at the time. Yay, you're pumped. You got some stuff like your spells back or
yeah, I
whatever.
mean, we
And
ended up
then the
my,
dry paperwork was
Yeah,
done
yeah.
in
after, and it was a
we
perfect
did
happy medium.
we did a half a medium like that, or at least my cousin did, because he was also a hater of this training. He didn't like that idea. So when we played, you got your hit points, but if you gained a weapon proficiency, you didn't get that extra weapon proficiency. Or if you gained an extra attack, you didn't get that extra attack until you went back
Nah, I like the end of a session when
to
you
a
got.
city. And
Yeah, I like the end of a session. Whenever the session ends, you get all your stuff. That's the way it should be.
yeah,
Like,
Roll your new
so
hit
like
dice.
that's how Call of
Roll
Cthulhu
your
does it. Like Call of Cthulhu doesn't have levels, so it's a lot easier. You are literally just
yeah.
gaining experience because you.
Well, I
Like,
mean, D&D is very unique in that it's still level based,
Yeah.
whereas everyone else
a lot of people didn't do levels yet.
it's still
Your skills advance, but you
skills.
don't.
It's
Yeah,
skills based.
yeah. So you pretty much have the same hit points or whatever always, but your skills are advancing. Yeah, so you get
Yep.
better chances of surviving that way. But yeah, it's I guess it's up to the party, like the GM and your players, what they like to do. But like Jack said, some games like Jack's game, it's all about experiencing the world. It's not so much about adventuring. It's more just you're living in this world. So obviously you do have to go train or whatever because that's just part of the world. But in D&D where it's hyper adventurous, I would think that you just get your stuff. It's like playing a role playing game in a video game. Your character pops, you get a little glow around yourself, and you get all your extra stuff. Like,
yeah, that's a good analogy. A video game, it just
Like Diablo, you can use
yeah,
Diablo as a
yeah,
good.
yeah. You get that big burst.
Because
of
I was
energy
reading
and
that,
everything.
I was thinking some of the people here are complaining about are the DMs that would allow a Diablo level up.
Yeah, which I think for D&D, matter what kind of. I guess you can play D&D the other way too, but for high adventure D&D, you got to do it that way because that's just it's none of it's realistic anyway. So might as well just do it.
yeah, dungeon crawling exclusively is more of a roguelike, like you said, like
Yeah.
a video game, which is the perfect analogy. That blows my mind that that
Then I
works
thought
so
of
well.
something good.
No, that for the one extreme, that's exactly what it is. You're wanting to enjoy in the time what's
Yeah.
happening. It is what it is.
It's not a
Whereas a
simulation
more
where
story based, where it's going to where everything's going to be part of your character's thread and your character's.
Totally different type of game. Yeah.
It's a whole different game than what they're playing here. What the first edition Dungeons and Dragons was.
And I think a lot of it is how the DM interprets Dungeons and Dragons at this time too. It's because there is no other. I read the book. This is how I think it should be played, and it could be completely different. Even though Gygax thought, hey, AD&D is everybody plays the exact same way. It's still up for interpretation. A lot of this stuff, how you play it. So
yeah, well, any game is really.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless you're watching Critical Role and you think that's how D&D should be played.
No.
That's the only way it should be played.
No.
Well, that's a lot of people nowadays. That's the way they
I understand, but no.
But that's do a funny voice. You're not playing D&D.
Okay, that's it for me.
That's our podcast will be silly voice free. I'm sorry. That's that. I in my contract, I swear it was on there.
Although we were doing a Wisconsin accent last time, so I think the silly voice.
And it was exclusively stopping me from doing silly voices. So maybe there's some wiggle room.
There's wiggle room. Okay, that was Pat. Was it?
Yes.
It would be back to me, but I don't have any more. So Jack, do you have any more?
No, we did my forum, we did my Marvel file, and by the rules from Set on High that we were told by the powers that be.
By no one?
I'm
by the GM?
I am tapped of my articles.
Sorry, I said GM. Pat, do you have another article?
I do, a 27.
It better be the ecology because you never said it.
Yes, it is the ecology.
Yeah, there you go.
We have the ecology of the Gorgon, a.k.a. the Stone Bull.
A.k.a. something happened to that picture.
Yeah. Things I learned about the Gorgon. This is actually another good article by Dr. Greenwood. Better than the
Cockatrice.
Cockatrice. Things I learned. Gorgon can turn people to stone 4 times a day. He uses his breath, which is an organ that creates the vapor, is an organ that's located in the roof of his mouth. And even when he's dead, because that organ is leaking gas, he can still turn people to stone.
So he's like a skunk.
Yeah, basically. By the way, so in the text or the story that Elmas you're saying, he references that the Gorgon's breath smells like cabbage.
Cabbage?
I'd be hungry all the time.
And then the biggest thing that I didn't realize is that the biggest thing I learned about the Gorgon.
He's like an Irish St. Patty's Day classic here.
Exactly. Because the skin of the Gorgon is made of metal scales, the Gorgon is deathly afraid of rust monsters.
Oh, that'd be funny. I want to see that cage match.
And they're like their mortal enemies. So they even talks about how Gorgons fight rust monsters. Like the rust monster is the only animal a Gorgon will run away from. And usually what it does is that it uses its horns to try and tip the rust monster over so it can run.
I would think a Gorgon's faster than rust monsters. They don't seem that fast.
Well, I mean, and one of the things too is rust monsters are quote unquote subterranean creatures.
How often would they meet? Yeah.
Yeah, Gorgons don't go down. But in the story, some of this
it's too bad for the Gorgons.
Some of this I guess in the story
I almost got him.
Yeah. I almost ruined Cat's Paw.
In the story, I guess, how they got some of this information, Elminster says that they had captured a rust monster and used it to corner a Gorgon in a valley.
There you go. If you want, you're hunting Gorgons, use rust monsters.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff on how the scales work, like these scales.
Can you make armor out of the Gorgon scales?
You can make armor, or actually, armor it doesn't make good armor, but it's good iron for making weapons, but not for armor because it pits and dents really easy because it's just yeah. Well, it doesn't rust. It doesn't rust because the bull excretes like a little waxy substance that helps protect the metal scales from rain and water. Probably. Well, it's metal then at that point.
Does it explain why he wears a toupee?
Yes, because he is very vain,
No, okay.
and he got a lot of balding jokes when he was in high school.
No.
He's so vain. I bet you he thinks this article's about him.
But he'd be right though
No.
in that sense.
With that Carly Simon joke, let's move on. Jack, you have no more?
No more.
No.
Rob,
No,
are
I'm
you
done.
tapped?
Yeah, do you have another one, Pat?
I have 2 quick ones.
Oh, jeez, this guy.
Oh, dear.
Where's the rules, Jack? Where's the rules?
I don't
32.
know. You run a sloppy.
I'm
ship
surprised.
here.
I actually I put this down thinking Jack would have taken this.
Mages for mages?
Pages from the Mages. It's a number 4 by our longtime friend, longtime listener, Ed Greenwood.
Yeah.
Who I
Sir
chatted with
Dr.
at
Ed
Gen
Greenwood.
Con, getting our GM badges. Ed, if you don't remember,
You were more like
we pieced out.
no, you were more like, please, sir, don't look
sir.
upon me with your gaze.
That's not what happened.
You were too afraid to ask for a picture.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, we'll say free.
I didn't want.
Well, the thing is, I didn't want to bother him because we were in line for the GM badges
And he's
together.
like 800. Yeah.
And we were just chatting. He's actually pretty spry for a guy who's 800 years old.
He's Elminster. He looks like Elminster, by the way, people. You would never
Yes.
miss him. He looks just like him.
Well, I'm glad you got to at least like exchange some pleasantries.
Yeah, I said, big fan, good to meet you. And he said, nice to meet you too. What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. And then we moved on.
He didn't say, listen to the Dragon's Tome.
Well, I didn't want him to hear all the smack Jack talks, even though he's a longtime listener. Longtime friend of the podcast.
Well, yeah, that's where some T-shirts, some merch would have got. He would have looked down and went, what's the Dragon's Tome? Why does it say longtime listener Ed Greenwood on there?
Yeah, why does it say?
Got a jacket quote on there.
Yeah, I love this show. Ed Greenwood.
That can't be right.
It's the quote, quote - Ed Greenwood. So these are 4 new spell books from Professor Greenwood.
And to answer your question, I was so happy to get Alpha Flight. I was like a kid on after prom. It was in and out explosion of happiness, and then so I didn't have it in me to do anything about book learning or some other such.
So as we know, Professor has done 3 of these already, and he's done 4 new ones, again with very detailed backgrounds of these books and some new spells. The spells in these ones are okay, and there's nothing that stood out to me other than the book of Brielle's Book of Shadows. I thought was pretty cool because it teaches you how to use the alicorn horns to make stuff and how to make a homunculus.
Yeah, everybody needs a homunculus.
Yeah.
If I was playing, I would want a homunculus.
So
we know your obsession with little goblin guys. So we heard last episode or 2 episodes ago.
Any vaguely pet-like creature is a fun addition.
And then I guess, is it just me that's left?
Yeah.
All right. Second to last, or really last, is 83. And this is just a real quick shout out because all it really is just a new list of stuff for weapons and artifacts to get in Gamma World when you find these things. No one knows how to use them. You have to sit there and figure out how to learn it.
By Peter Giaconopoulos.
Yeah, that's very Greek.
Jack and I couldn't say that name.
Giannakopoulos.
Oh.
You can always use more artifacts in Gamma World. That is for sure. If you ever played Gamma World.
And you need an M16.
Yes. And then the one thing I did want to shout out that I'm surprised that none of you guys did was on page 4. I just made mention of it. It's the letter from Kim Mohan talking about the Unearthed Arcana update.
He just he just typed it up, and I was just like, he's just being like, it's gonna be so fun, guys. It's gonna be great.
And it wasn't like news. It was more of like, hey,
Like he
It was
says,
just a passing note. I'm looking forward to, even though I own Unearthed Arcana, I'm looking forward to them giving like a, hey, this is the thing.
yeah, because
Okay.
he's like, it's the size of the player's handbook, and it's got a bunch of things in it, and it's like, okay, thanks. But he didn't. It doesn't go into detail. I can't wait till they do it. One that goes into detail, or an ad. The ad is.
I suppose we do this every week, so for us, it's like, okay, come
Yeah,
on,
this is a month later.
we don't
Yeah,
need to know.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
someone who missed any of the article, any of the editions or something like that, would be like, oh, what, an Unearthed Arcana? Like, if so, these little breadcrumbs are necessary. I understand that with the format and given the time, but
Kim
for
does say he's editing it, so Gygax better keep an eye on him. We know how bad an editor he is.
Okay.
That explains a lot about Unearthed Arcana, actually. Now I think
Exactly.
about it.
All right.
I never knew it had a bad rap. I always thought it was much beloved.
Yeah, it was
Got a
very
lot. I guess there's a lot of
rife with
yeah,
errors.
There's a lot of errors, and the binding is terrible. I guess.
I have to find
Any
my.
better articles? Pat, any more
Nope,
articles?
done. All done.
Let's go to ads. Coach, since you talk so much, Jack, you got an ad?
Me?
Sure.
Let's go to page 47, please.
47. Okay.
Need new dice? Call us. And look, there's a pupper eating the guy's dice.
Oh,
There's
that's
no
all.
reason you. Yeah, I thought so. There's no reason you wanted this because there's a dog.
It's a dog.
Yeah, it's a pretty accurate view of chewed on dice.
yep.
The only other thing is down there. It says their high quality lead miniatures are very bendable, which I don't know if that's a perk or not. But no, it was a dog eating dice, and my heart grew 2 sizes that day.
That's nice. I'm gonna take Pat's and go to page 2.
Okay.
Oh,
Warhammer Fantasy Battles. I'm pretty sure this is the version we had because I recognize this cover.
This is the second edition Warhammer.
Like, Jack, does this cover remind you of what we had? He's thinking. He's thinking back. The wheels are burning.
yeah, I don't remember. I could go
I thought it was
get it.
I thought it was third edition we had, but
This is second edition.
I know, but this looks familiar. That's why I thought it was this one.
I mean,
I
I'm
know
not
where it
playing.
is.
I'm not playing fantasy battles, but 2 years later, I'll be playing Rogue Trader.
Yeah, but we definitely started with a box set, and I thought this was the cover. Unless the third edition has the same cover, it's a possibility.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Third edition is orcs and elves, I think. No, orcs and Bretonians.
See, ours was orcs and elves. Is our box set? Is that this one?
Yeah,
That might be fourth. This is chaos and orcs.
No, it wasn't chaos. Ours is orcs and elves. That I think it's third edition we started with. Anyways, this is Warhammer 4-color ad, second edition Warhammer rules, which I'm sure improved on the first edition because people really didn't like the first edition rules. So this is where it's getting serious business, guys. This is where I think they realized, oh, we're onto something here. Like,
Yeah, this is where it turns around for them.
yeah, I think GW's like, oh, screw importing D&D stuff. This is where the money is at. Our own thing. So
yeah. You can see the art style is evolving. You can see it's not a proto game anymore, or the company. It's finding all its footing.
yeah. Pat, do you have an ad? We don't have much time
15.
left. We got to zip through these.
15.
15 ads. Okay, what's the first one?
On page 15,
Yep.
you got the new DM screen. This is the second edition version of for first edition. This one includes 2 screens now, whereas the first one, it was just a screen that had all your tables and artwork on the back. This one now gives you some artwork tables for the players on the backside, and the players also have their own player screen that they can look on the charts and stuff. So
Players
this is
shouldn't
where
have any information.
this is where we're evolving.
And I am a fan of the DM screen. For me, even games that probably aren't traditionally played with one, I'm a fan of having that barrier.
Oh yeah, I love it too.
Yep. Have all your notes behind it. Nobody can peek, and you can make your die rolls in secret. It's always fun.
Hmm.
And all your notes and everything, you can lay it out. Because you have a lot more you have to be in charge of, and you don't have to worry about
Yep,
anything.
I agree.
So
If I'm playing in person, I always have a DM screen. That's for sure.
Oh, 100%.
yeah.
Jack, do you
Rob,
have
you got
any?
any more ads?
You got more ad, Jack?
Well, if you wanted to go down to page 47, we'll go take a look at that.
We already did this one.
There's a little pupper eating some of the dice.
My next ad's on page 25.
Oh, that was one of my ads.
Toys R Us is selling D&D sets,
Yep.
which is that's a sign of success right there.
Yep. Toys R Us is now selling your stuff.
Yeah. So
Now that Toys R Us is bankrupt.
yeah. Well, that's later. But the point that you got D&D and Toys R Us, that's a big thing, and it looks like Marvel Superheroes is there too. So
Yep.
TSR
It's
in Toys R Us.
it's a mainstream thing that kind of like the taboo nature of Dungeons and Dragons must be leaving.
Mhm.
That a
Yeah.
big corporation,
Yeah.
like
Toys
if
R Us
Jeffrey
wouldn't do it.
Giraffe's,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, gonna be hawking your stuff. It signals that maybe the satanic panic is waning, and
Yeah. I agree. And yeah, everyday low prices. You get any of the box sets for like $10. That's not bad. Those
Now,
nowadays they're like $100.
well, $10 back then was still a lot of money.
It wasn't that much money. Inflation is
I'm
still.
hearing, I don't know, but I'm hearing a lot of people are like, oh, this is how much the new D&D books, the physical copies cost, and they're losing their full minds. I don't
It's
know how
expensive.
much they cost, but they must be astronomical.
I know for the three set for the players, DM, and monster menu, I think is like $150. So, but the starter sets, like the basics, like the what do they call it? The starter set, I guess it's called. It's only like $20, so that's the way to go.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you much. It doesn't give you all the character creation and stuff like that. So, anyways, it's a gateway drugs. Gateway drugs are cheap, and it just costs more to get farther in.
Yeah, I suppose so. That's your first bump. That's just got the right amount of fentanyl in it. It's just to get you going, and then next thing you know, you're
Yep.
rolling Jeffrey Giraffe for his companion box set.
That's the beauty of the box sets back here too. Is you only had to buy the first one, and then you eventually build up your money, buy the next one, build up your money, buy the next one. Like you don't have to buy them all at once. Where nowadays it seems like you know to get all you have to have those 3 books. Like that's how you play the game. So
You could go for years with what you had and not ever have to move on, or
Yeah.
when the time came you did, you could, but it wasn't like the barrier to entry was very, very low.
yeah, it proves it because none of us were well off and we all had it. So
No,
Pat,
I was
do you have
born
another
poor
ad?
and ugly.
Oh,
I got last one, page 22.
and you're still
22.
poor. Oh,
We
not
have now
ugly.
the full page announcement of Conan the RPG
Yeah.
and 3 new modules that are going to go for it
So
when they're
yeah,
coming
they
out.
had modules for D&D now, AD&D before, but now I guess it's getting
Yeah.
its own actual role playing game, which is interesting.
Yeah, and then if you look at their release dates for their modules, so I just wanted to make a shout out since TSR made the Conan RPG.
Because I remember mentioning that I didn't even know they made the modules, but now they actually make an RPG I've never heard of either. So
Yeah,
who knew?
Yeah, either there was that much, it was well received, the modules, or like I don't know when the movies come out. I don't know the exact
I
timeline, but
think it's about this
84 was when
second one.
the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie came out.
okay, so in and around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there must have been enough.
Well, because in the modules they used the Arnold Schwarzenegger images.
Yeah. But yeah, like you say, Jack, it must be enough in the zeitgeist that Conan's a name again.
that people are willing to pony up the dough.
I know the comic books were pretty popular at this time too. So, all right, anything else to talk about?
No, I think that's it. This is lengthy.
Yeah, it's a long one. We had a lot to talk about in this one.
There was a lot of Alpha Flight chats.
Oh, that's on my shoulders.
all Jack's
Okay,
fault.
I see how it is. I see how it is.
We'll be back next week for 98. We're getting closer to 100. Big episode. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment below. What was your favorite article in this magazine? And we'll try to answer. We try to answer on most of the comments. A lot of people are commenting on old episodes, so we have to we don't remember what happened. So we're like, what's this person made this comment about this? And we have to discuss it amongst ourselves. Oh yeah.
Well, so there are sometimes where I have to go back and rewatch the episode.
Yeah. So.
Rob will post something that goes, "Did we in episode 64? Did we talk about a trumpet?" And I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Someone," and I apologize. I don't go back. I don't comment. I've got a whole bunch of stuff I'm doing. I'm not an online
You're
critter.
Not worth it. That's what he's saying to people. You're not worth his time.
But it's funny, just all out of nowhere.
Pat and I,
hey,
you're worth our time.
Hey, in '76, is there such thing as a carpet monster? I don't know.
Like we said, we can't remember last week, let alone months ago.
Exactly.
Years ago. Until next week, I've been Rob.
I'm Jack.
And I've been Chopper.
Join us for the Dragon's Tome. We'll be back. Speaking of Arnie.
We'll be back.
Yeah, there you go.
Bye-bye.